Welcome. We are, first of all, I want to say I apologize for us for taking a sabbatical, but we are back. We are back and we are committed to doing these lunch and learns. And as you know, I am Shon Hart. Run an organization called Involve That in the city of Flint, and my co-host, as you guys all know, is Mr. Tony McDowell. And before we got started today, he gave me some great news. Is that he is no longer, you see his name on there, deputy director, right? He told me today that is no longer, he said, listen, I need you to change that. No. But he said, listen, you get to change that today. And I don't want to steal his thunder. I would like for him to share his news because it's not my news to share.
Oh, thank you for that, Sean. But yes, so today is my first day as the Genesee County Friend of the Court. Our friend of the court for 15 years was Jack Battles, and he is going to be able to go happily enjoy his retirement. And the chief judge here in Genesee County has appointed me as the Genesee County Friend of the Court moving forward. So looking forward to continuing to work with families, work with the community, and just hopefully make the Genesee County Friend of the Court more accessible to those we're here to serve.
Awesome, man. Tone, I am so happy for you, man. Absolutely just happy for you. Definitely well deserved, man. So we are, again, committed to these lunch and learns to help, agencies and organizations, just free, honestly, just free lunch and learns, like things that we have discovered, things that we've learned working together, working in the community, you working in the courts, on how we can use our expertise to help those that we serve, right? And I think it's a honor to serve. I think it's our responsibility to help individuals grow, their organizations and just individuals. And I think this is a way, man, that we bridge many gaps, like honestly. And the thing about this, what I love, Tony, is that you and I have a great relationship, and I love just breaking through barriers, right? And I think that we are able to break through so many barriers just in our relationship, right? Because I represent community, you represent system demand, right? Let's talk about it, man. Is that I represent black man, you are a white male, right? And so we are just tearing down barriers like on purpose, being intentional about, addressing this, like on how we can work together, and not acting like we are not aware of the challenges of the world, but we're just showing and demonstrating like how we can work together to move the needle when we focus on what's most important, right? So, am I correct to say that, brother?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the things that I think that we kind of have talked about over the years, you and I have talked a lot about is, the court has a role in the community, government has a role in the community, and there's amazing things that the court can do for families. There's amazing things that the friend of the court can do for families, but there are limitations of what the court is permitted to do, what government's permitted to do for a lot of different reasons. And then that's where when you're mindful of that, you find community partners who can fill those gaps, who can do those things that you can't do, and you work with those agencies, and we've firm believers that that's something we have to do here at the Genesee County Friend of the Court. We have to not just try to solve things on our own. We have to work with our community partners. We have to work with our community. We have to work with the families we serve. But yes, it's very important for us to be finding partners, community partners out there who can fill the gaps of doing the things that we can't do. And we have our limitations, and we need to work with those other organizations that can do the things that we can't.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that, right? Because I think that is huge on what you say. I think that's huge when we're talking about that we have everybody have a role. Like you guys have a role, we have a role, and especially my role, right? Because I am trying to make sure that I keep my credibility, that although I work with the system, individuals looking at me sideways like, yo, are you the system? Are you becoming the system? And that was one of the blessings that helped me when I worked when I worked in the prison system, is that although I was staff, and although I had a connection to inmates, I was gifted, man. I really believed it was a gift that I was able to navigate both worlds, right, without crossing lines. Like I was able to hold the inmates accountable, right, without them feeling like I can do this in front of Chap because he's not gonna tell, right? Or the officer is like, man, I can't trust him because he has this relationship, right? Like each side knew where I stood. The standard was the standard, and we're not gonna become over familiar. We know how to navigate this, and I think that has helped us tremendously. Is that I don't overstep my bounds when it comes to what you guys do. You have a job, you have a role. Likewise, when it comes to individuals in the community I work with, and I think this is, what we want to talk about today, as just building. We talking about these relationships, and we're talking about, just how agencies can work with community partners, especially when there are barriers in between, and not just acting like they don't, exist, because a lot of times, we act like they don't exist, but they really do exist, so that's what I want us to talk about today. So from where you sit, right? What where when we get started, so where do you see some of the biggest gaps, as it relates to um, building those bridges between community and not community organizations. I'm talking about community, the people in the community and the institution. Like, what is that from where you sit? I don't know your world really. So, what is that biggest gap where it's like, man, that makes my job very difficult?
Sure. So I think that a lot of times it comes down to trust. Is one of those first big barriers when you're talking about, I'll use the child support system as a whole, because I know you've got folks watching from all over the place. But I mean, when you talk about the child support system as a whole, there's a level of distrust there, and but one of the first things is overcoming that distrust, and that's a big challenge. And one of the things that you can do, a couple of things that I think we've done that have been helpful is, first, meeting people where they are. So I understand that there could be reasons why people do not want to come into the front of the court. They don't want to come into a government building. They don't want to come to a court hearing. There may be reasons behind all of that, for a lot of different reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Mm-hmm.
need to be mindful of that. And so we need to be willing to work with families that we serve in non-traditional ways, whether that is going to different locations. Like, for example, we would go to, we've been to senior centers. We've been to Burson Field House, which is, for those of you in Flint know where that is. We've worked in libraries. We'll go to different locations. Churches is another place that we've gone. So recognizing that we might not be able, we maybe need to go into our community to help build that trust, because we need to overcome those barriers. The other thing I think is education. So one of the things is, like we just talked about, those roles. Um, if you think that I'm supposed to be doing something, and every day you come in and you think, man, they're supposed to be doing this, and then when I explain, that's not what
Yeah.
we're here to do. Legally, I can't do that thing.
Yeah.
And that can kind of start help building that relationship. It that's not going to build trust on its own, but that can certainly help building that relationship where you can build trust. And then I think the third thing is consistency. So if I say that we're going to do something, we need to do it. That's one of the things that I think is key. Is if we say we're going to be community focused and we're going to try to work with families, then we need to follow through on our actions and our policies and every step of the way. So
Yeah.
within the confines of the laws that we have and the role
Yeah,
that we play,
absolutely.
right? So, which is why that education piece is so important. Is we have to really communicate what we're here to do, why we're here to do that thing, and then hopefully get that information out, and that can hopefully help build relationships that will hopefully eventually create community trust.
Yeah, so one of the things that I would like to share is that it's really interesting to me um, when it comes to when you talk about building trust. One of the things, and now you are in a position. This is something that I think that you can consider, right? Is that a lot of times when I go to speak to youth, or depending on my population, I dress according to how they are going to connect with me. And sometimes, when um, agencies show up, just like a police officer, he represents that position of authority, right? So as soon as they see that, that may cause somebody to go into a traumatic state, right? Not all, but somebody. We never know, right? So I think it's really important when you talk about building trust. Don't be afraid to be intentional about how you even dress when you come into that space,
Mhm.
right? So that may be, if you go into the community, maybe that's the day for dress down. Right? Maybe you could wear a button up, some jeans, or whenever. However, that's another way to connect where they're like, man, that's another human, right? Like, they live in community, although you don't look like me, but it brings that connection. So that's just one of the things that I would like to add, is that for agencies um not to despise even just that, the ability to be aware of how we dress and how we come across, because that right there can be a barrier, but right away that can be a way that you can connect with them, where they like, okay, I see that person as a human, right, and not somebody who is just talking down to me or whatever the case.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's an interesting angle to look at it too. I mean, I think that one of the things we've always tried to do is be respectful, and so it's one of the things that's kind of interesting. So to do the counterpoint on that is, this is like a sign of me showing respect to you, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
so me like I'm not wearing my suit jacket all day, right?
Hmm.
I wear my suit jacket for you as a sign of respect to you. And so what I think can be really interesting is trying to, it's navigating all of that sort of thing where it's like, I think some of the times what we're maybe trying to portray is like, I I think you are a an important human being who deserves my respect, and I would dress up the same way for you as I would if I was going into a courtroom,
Yeah.
because I respect you as a human being too. So I think I totally understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I can also see that where there's like this other kind of uh, angle that's trying to be achieved there. The other thing is, and this isn't until you started saying it, I really didn't think about this angle of it that much. But you know, I don't want people to be afraid of the system. In the system is going to look a certain way sometimes, and so what my hope is that I bring my humanity to these engagements. And when I'm talking to dads, obviously I work with your dads all the time, and we
Yeah.
come and I talk, and my goal is hopefully that we have brought enough humanity to those conversations that you can look past the attire, the past the suit, but then that also makes it so the next time you engage with a suit,
Yep.
maybe you don't have that kind of like they're all bad guys,
Yep.
they're all bad people,
Yep.
right? And so, but no, I think which is I think is this sort of I'm going to go with you're right. I probably should dress down sometimes because I'm going to take your advice there. But I do think that there's sort of like when we talk about community partners and agencies who are trying to build these better relationships with the families they serve and the community agencies, part of it is it's like a lost in translation thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's being like, no, I'm doing this for you.
Yep.
I'm doing
Yep.
this as a sign of
Yep.
respect, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting that like the almost like there needs to be an interpreter, right?
Yeah,
There needs to be
yes,
somebody being like, yeah, yeah,
absolutely. No, I love it, man, and I love how you explain and how you say even from you, um, what you win the suit, like your mindset. You're saying, hey, listen, I respect you, and I think you deserve my best. Right? I think you deserve somebody to represent you and to handle you or deal with you or interact with you. I don't want to just show up with some ripped jeans or ripped shirt, just like, hey, So I get that, but I think the beautiful thing about this is that we just have to be wise, right? Is that there are multiple ways for us to get our point across. So, what is needed? What's necessary? So, today I wear my suit. Next time I don't wear my suit because of A, B, and C. And so I just want some agencies to be aware is that like, hey, there's an alternative, right? You don't always have to do it this way. There are other options, and try using that or whatever the case. So no, I like that, man. But that's just another way that they can use to connect. So from a community standpoint, a lot of times people are intimidated, man. I'm just being flat out, just intimidated and don't want to be transparent and don't want to share this, afraid to go in. And then, so if they have a bad experience, they walk away saying, see, I told you. And it's not even talking to somebody else. They're saying it to themselves. Like, I'll never put myself in that situation again. I'll never do that again. And so now
hmm
you have this person, they leave, he or she saying, I'll never do this again. They go tell somebody else to, how by the time you get down to the end, that story is,
nothing like
totally,
how it
totally
started.
different. Totally different. Totally different. So no, I like that. I like that a lot. So my question to you is, when you working with staff, at agencies such as yours, what is the mindset? Because sometimes the community looks at it, it's like, these people don't like me. um I walk in the door, they immediately judging me, right? They are judging me. They see my case, so I'm gonna walk in on guard, and they're not gonna receive the best of me because I'm pissed, I'm angry, and I'm gonna be, so I have to protect myself because I think they are judging me and they don't like me, so I need to know if you can pull back the curtain. What are you saying to employees as individuals come in, men come in? Is that what you guys say, or is it something totally different?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So I think one of the like the piece that's missing in that story is that the friend of the court clients are us. But many of the people who work in our office have friend of the court cases themselves.
Mm.
Um, many of or we have a parents who have a friend of the court case, a brother who has a friend of the court case, a cousin, a sister. We certainly have friends and family. There are 50,000, almost 50,000 cases in Genesee County at the Genesee County Friend of the Court. That's impacting a lot of people. There's a good number of us who have had to go through the court system ourselves, or we've had loved ones who have had to do it. So I think one of the things to probably the piece to remember there is that like we're not is we recognize that we're not any different than anybody else walking through the door, right? A lot of us have had to have our own experiences with the court system or with the friend of the court too. So that is one of the pieces. I will say though that wasn't always the mentality. One of the things that you know about me, Shon, is I will try to own our failures
Yep.
when we've had them, and I can say that that's not always been the case. That has not always been the case. That it wasn't a us and them mentality. I think that has changed over time as we've focused more on customer service.
Hmm.
We've focused more on really understanding trying to empathize and understand what families are going through. But then again, also holding up a mirror and pointing out that we're not that different than anybody else. We have cases. We have we've got family stuff that happens as well. And I'm a child of the child support program. I can kind of flat out say just that in and of itself, right? Like I recognize the impact that can have on families and on children and on parents. And yeah, so that's one of the things I think people, one of the things to just remember is that it's probably not necessary to armor up when you come in, right? It's probably not necessary to put kind of that armored face on, because we really just want to help, and we recognize that families who are working with our office are going through a tough time in some way or another a lot of times, and that we just want to help. A couple of years back, we did a find your why activity with our staff to kind of really figure out what like makes them tick, what's their passion, why did they do this work, why did they get out of bed in the morning. And the overwhelming thing that came out of that conversation is that people do this work because they want to help people navigate the court system, right? The way they kind of envision themselves is someone who can. We have our limitations. Well, there's things that we can't do, but we can point you in the right direction, right?
Good.
So we're not advocates. We don't get to advocate for one parent or another, which is more of a role of like what a traditional attorney might do, or YWCA has advocates, right? There are organizations that have advocates. We're not that. We're navigators. We're not going to be the one who like takes you all the way, but we can show you, right? We can point you in the right direction. We can say, hey, here's the form you need to be able to navigate the system. Here's some resources that will make it so that you can navigate the system. And so that's really navigating and then engaging. That's the other thing that people who work in our office really want to do is they want to engage. Now, of course, what happens? Let's get to what really happens. If someone comes in armored up, and then what's going to happen is that the employee who is maybe getting yelled at, cursed at, happens a lot in our office, then what's going to happen to that person, right? They're also going to start armoring up as well. They're going to start like feeling that they need to put their armor on and protect themselves emotionally from what's happening there. And so that's where it really can go sideways,
Wow.
is that and so that's one of the harder parts, because we're humans, right? I can train all day on don't get armored up if somebody comes in upset, but guess what? You start cursing at me and I'm going to have an immediate
That's good,
reaction.
man. That's good.
So
That's
that's
good.
one of the things that can be really tough.
That's really good, right? That's good that you bring that part of it, and I think it go both ways, right? So sometimes we don't look at that you guys are human, right? Because we look at you as one big system, and then again, position depending on your position, how you look, your exterior, people automatically judge, right? Just automatically judge from that standpoint. But then we look at it for both ways, is that it's important for agencies, the friend of the court, to know that those people who walk in that room, we don't know what they just experienced, right? We don't know what they just experienced. And I think that we all need to do better at being patient and remembering why we do what we do, right? And when the customer come in there, that customer is not coming there 9 times out of 10 because they're extremely happy, unless it's their last time making a payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, sometimes they are frustrated, they're overwhelmed, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then you just remind them of the person that they are angry with. Remember that. They're not necessarily you, right? But you represent the one that they are upset with, or that are withholding the children from them. So you are just, casualty of this war, like that in between. And because this, friend of the court have the power and authority to do certain things, right? It's just not like anybody else, right? It's just like, well, you just can't talk to me this way, so I think that's a great point that you make, and for us all from both sides to remember that we are human, right? And we have a job to do, right? You as the system, you have as a court, you have a job to do. Me as a father, those walking through the doors, I have a responsibility, one, to take care of me, to take care of my child, my responsibility, right? Because sometimes they are upset because, they can't take care of their current home because of this other home. Now, my thing is like, listen, man, that's your responsibility. I understand that you got married and you moving on and you having, these challenges with your child's mom, but it's still your responsibility at the end of the day, right? Still your responsibility. And I think, with all of that, of what we are both saying here today, Tony, is that we can't forget on both sides, from the friend of the court or as the people, on how we navigate this whole system together, right? So I need to better understand you guys, where you're clearly stating, like, listen, I don't make the rules, I follow the rules, right? I have a job here to do. I am a navigator, not an advocate, right? And that's important, right? What do you think I should do? I don't know. There's some papers down there that you can go and, so those things, so that's really, 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 really good to know. You start
Yeah.
smiling on that.
Yeah, because that's one of the first things that comes up all the time is like people come to our office because things are not going well and they need assistance. And one of the key things that court employees can't do is provide legal advice. None of us can. And so, one of the things that can be that's just one of those, again, education and understanding like what role we play is so key, because if you come in and you're like, I've got this legal issue, I need you to resolve it. And
Yep.
we go,
Yep.
there's some forms over there.
Yep.
That's incredibly frustrating, right? I
Yeah.
totally understand that's incredibly frustrating. But so the more we can really explain, the whole procedural justice concept, right? That, you may not like the answer, but you're more likely to go along with it and follow through with it if you understand the process, if it's consistent, if it's clear, if it's true for me, just like it is true for the other person. And so, those are the sorts of things that we train on here, right? We train on procedural justice. That's one of the things that we train on. One of the other things that I was, as you were talking, that I thought that was a great training that a lot of us attended, was it was a reentry program for people, reentering citizens, and you did an actually like a stimulation, or a simulation where you had a certain number of like dollars that you got a certain number of like bus tickets or those sorts of things, and then you had to go do all the things that you're supposed to do to reenter society. And it's impossible, right? It's impossible. And so one of the things that was key is really showing what the map or the journey is for someone who has a case, for those in our office who have never had a case before. What does that journey look like,
Good.
and what does that experience look like? And then when we do that, then you start going, well, of course nobody knew that they were supposed to do that thing. How would you know, right? There's so little information out there about that. So one of the things that I would say that we have really tried to strive to do in the last several years, and we're going to continue to do, is try to get good education out there, because there's nothing more frustrating than driving downtown, finding a parking spot, walking up into our office, thinking you're going to get everything solved, and then we just give you some paperwork and send you to a different office. I understand it's incredibly frustrating. What my goal is for
And might get a ticket because your time was expired.
you might get a ticket. Yeah. So all that stuff. What my goal is that, before you ever come down, that where you were supposed to go. You weren't supposed to come to our office. You were supposed to go to a completely different building or a completely different agency, and maybe that agency is involved ad. Maybe that agency is Legal Services of Eastern Michigan. Wherever that agency might be, but we want to make it so that you don't unnecessarily come to the wrong place. We don't want to just tell people, oh, here's a form. That's not at all what we're trying to do. But if we can't get good information out there, that's going to happen. So one of the things that you and I've talked about is that the importance of our relationship is that hopefully I can get good information out with you, right? We can work together to get good information out there so people know, oh, if I want to file a motion, I don't go to the friend of the court. I need to get an attorney or go to legal services or go to michiganselfhelp.com.
Yeah.
And hopefully over time, we can get to the point where there isn't this, oh, I went to the wrong door. That was a waste of my time. I don't get a ticket to going downtown. I don't want those things to happen. I don't want that frustration for the families that we're trying to serve. And then there's going to be perfectly good times where, yeah, we are the right place to go, and you went
Yep.
to the wrong building for that
Yep.
too, right? So I want to make sure that people know when to come see us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is good, man. I think this is really helpful, right? And I just want to say is that we are going to do more of these, right? So we committed to doing two lunch and learns a month, for you all to help you with your journey, your process. So once you watch this, please do not hesitate to put comments in the comment section. Do you have any questions? Please feel free to put those questions in there. If you want to be anonymous so nobody know, you can just DM me, and we will make sure that we address some of your questions and your concerns. So Tone, as we leave today, do you have any last comments, any statements, anything that is going on that we need to make sure that the community is aware of as it relates to anything new coming down the pipeline, with laws or events or anything of that nature?
Yeah. So I mean, I think that I'm going to go with two things. One is a similar request to what you just made. Is let Shon know. Let the contact the Genesee County Friend of the Court on our Facebook page. I'm such a firm believer that we have to get good information out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm such a firm believer that is key. That we get good information out there. And we want to do that with Shon. We'll do that on our own Facebook page too. So please just let us know what sort of things need to be clarified. What do you need to know more about? Because we want to do that. We want to get information out there. We've been doing some videos on our Facebook page and our Instagram and on YouTube for a bit now, trying to get some information out there that's relevant to families. And every time I get feedback about, okay, we need to cover this, I'm going to run with it. I want to make sure that we're getting good information out there. And then Shon and I can do more of a deep dive into issues on the lunch and learns. But if it's, hey, I just don't understand this little piece, I can do a 1 minute, 2 minute video
I love it.
to explain that. So like, more feedback, the better. We want to know what we can, how we can help. And I think just more information about the program and about the courts is key. So please keep sending us that information. The other is we have been kind of working on updating some of the information and forms on our website. So trying to make sure that those forms are relevant for families. So most recently, this is a topic that Shon and I have talked about a lot of times: revocation of paternity. So this is for when for either through marriage or an affidavit of parentage.
What does revocation of parentage mean?
Sure. Yeah. So I was trying to just
Okay,
explain it.
okay.
So anytime you have been made the legal father, right, whether that's through marriage or affidavit of parentage or through a court order, and you are not the biological father, okay, then there's a process that you need to file paperwork with the court to be taken off the birth certificate, be made not the legal father. So that's the revocation, being revoking the paternity, which is being the legal father, right? So we have forms available now on our website for that issue. It is something that every year when I talk to the Involved Dad group, impact group, it comes up. It comes up every single year as an issue. It's a tricky legal issue,
Yep.
and we're fortunate to have some great attorneys on our staff who worked very diligently to put together some packets so that anybody can use those to be able to file motions on those types of issues. And those are going on our website this week. So that's a brand new thing. We're excited about that, and we hope people find them to be useful.
Awesome. Awesome, man. I gotta switch. Look at that. Look at that. Let's see. There we go. We have it. Look, trying to mess me up with the technology, right? But no, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the insight, man. I think this is definitely necessary. I love the videos that you're doing, man. So cutting edge. That not the norm. So I appreciate what you do, man. And so we will be back in 2 weeks with some more information. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. So remember this: strong fathers create strong families, and strong families create strong communities. Till next time.